He clung to the clay pot as if the whole world wanted to steal it from him. His many legs trembled, his breath came in shallow bursts, and sweat dripped down his small, trembling body. "No one will take this from me," he whispered inside his mind, his voice sharp with greed. "All the wisdom of the world is mine, only mine." But even as he climbed higher, struggling against the rough bark of the towering tree, his heart pounded with fear. Below him, the world waited. Children laughed, elders watched, rivers moved, winds carried whispers. Every creature lived in the rhythm of shared knowledge. And yet, he clung tighter, his claws digging into the pot, too blind to see that his own grip was slipping. It would take only one moment, one mistake, one greedy stumble, for all of it to fall. The spider's legs shook as he struggled upward, hauling the great clay pot against his chest. Each step was desperate, each pull of his thin arms heavy with determination and greed. His many eyes darted nervously around, certain that someone, somewhere, would try to snatch the treasure away. The treasure was wisdom itself, gathered from rivers and forests, from winds and stones, from every creature that had ever lived, a gift meant for all. And yet Anansi, the trickster spider, had stolen it. He believed wisdom belonged to him alone. The bark tore at his fragile limbs, but he pressed upward. Higher. Always higher. He wanted to place the pot at the very top of the tallest tree, so no one else could touch it. In his heart, he imagined the world kneeling before him, begging for answers, for guidance, for survival. He thought, "They will need me. They will depend on me. And then I will be greater than kings, greater than gods." But already, sweat glistened on his thin black body. His grip slipped once, twice, the weight almost too much. And though the forest below watched in silence, the silence itself carried judgment. The birds perched on branches and tilted their heads, watching. The river slowed, as though pausing in curiosity. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. All eyes turned upward at the small creature burdened by a treasure far too great for his 8 legs to carry. Anansi ignored them. He told himself that silence meant weakness. He told himself that the world did not deserve wisdom. Only he, cleverer than all, deserved to hold it. But the silence was not weakness. It was patience. It was witness. And in that patience lay the beginning of his fall. Long before this day, Anansi had been known for stories. He was the teller of tales, the weaver of words, the one who could twist truth into lies and lies into truth. People laughed at his tricks, sometimes cried from them, but always remembered. Yet laughter was not enough for him. He wanted reverence. He remembered the times others had turned away from him, when the elephant did not bow, when the leopard dismissed him, when even children mocked his small frame. He remembered the sting of being overlooked. And so, when he heard of the great pot, filled with every drop of wisdom in the world, he felt destiny call to him. He thought, "If I own this, no one will ever dismiss me again." But wisdom, like water, is not meant to be caged. Still, he caged it. Now, as he clambered, he imagined each insult from his past. Each word became a spur, digging into his heart, making him cling tighter to the pot. The laughter of children, the sighs of elders, the whispers of stronger creatures. He turned them into fuel. Let them laugh now, he thought. Let them mock. Soon they will come crawling. Yet the higher he climbed, the heavier the pot seemed. It pressed against his body like stone, each step harder than the last. His limbs ached, his chest burned, and still, he did not see the simple truth. The pot was never meant to be carried by one. At the base of the tree, creatures gathered quietly. They said nothing. They made no move to stop him. Their silence was sharp, like the weight of unshed words. The children pointed, whispering, Why does he carry it alone? The elders shook their heads, their eyes filled with sorrow more than anger. The river lapped at the shore, patient, but Anansi, lost in his greed, thought their silence was proof of his triumph. They are too stunned to speak, he thought, too small to understand what I have done. He could not see that the silence was not all, it was warning. Halfway up the tree, his grip faltered again. His body slammed against the bark, and the pot nearly slipped. His heart lurched. For a breathless second, he clung to it with desperate claws trembling. From below, a single child called out, not in mockery, but in simple observation. If Anansi wanted to carry it safely, he should have tied it to his back. The words carried upward like the wind, brushing against Anansi's ears. For a moment, the spider froze. His many eyes widened. How could a child, an ordinary child, see something he had not? He felt a sting of humiliation. He, the owner of all wisdom, had overlooked something so simple. His pride burned hotter than the sun. Anger replaced caution. He climbed faster, his legs stabbing into the bark, his breath ragged. I am the keeper of wisdom, he thought bitterly. No child will outthink me. No one will outshine me. But the faster he climbed, the weaker his grip became. His arms quivered. The clay pot scraped against the tree. Cracks whispered along its surface, hairline fractures spreading like veins. The silence below grew heavier, pressing against his mind. The crowd of creatures did not cheer, did not plead, did not curse. They only watched. Their patience was the mirror of his impatience, their stillness, the shadow of his chaos, and deep within, wisdom itself stirred, wanting to be free. At last, near the highest branches, Anansi's strength gave way. His claws slipped. The pot tumbled from his grasp. For an instant, time froze. His eyes widened. His legs stretched helplessly. Then the clay shattered. The pot split open and wisdom poured out, rushing like water, like fire, like air, spilling into the world. It spread into the rivers, into the trees, into the hearts of every creature below. The silence broke, not with noise, but with awakening. Every creature felt it. The children, the elders, the birds, the fish, even the soil drank it in, and all understood what Anansi had never wished them to know. Wisdom was never meant for one. Anansi clung to the tree trembling. Below, the creatures looked up at him, not with fear, not with awe, but with clarity. One elder spoke softly, her voice carrying like wind. Wisdom cannot be owned. It belongs to all who live. Another voice joined. Even the smallest may see what the mighty overlook. And a third, greed blinds, but wisdom opens every eye. The crowd grew still again, not in silence of weakness, but in the silence of truth. Anansi had sought to make the world depend on him. Instead, the world had outgrown him. As the forest breathed, 3 words lingered in the air, words that spread further than Anansi's tricks ever had. Wisdom is shared. And another, greed makes even the clever fall. And finally, the smallest voice may hold the greatest truth. The creatures turned away from Anansi, their gazes no longer captive. They walked back to their lives, their hearts richer, their minds clearer. They carried the wisdom with them into their homes, their journeys, their stories. Anansi remained alone on the tree, clutching at bark that no longer offered him comfort. He realized then, in the aching silence, that all his climbing had brought him nowhere. For in trying to rise above all, he had fallen beneath them all. And still, he whispered to himself, trembling, if I had only shared, perhaps I too would have been wise. The story of Anansi and the pot of wisdom is not just about a spider. It is about every person who has ever tried to hoard what was meant to be shared. It is about pride that blinds and about humility that heals. Wisdom is not heavy when carried together. Respect is not lost when given freely. And silence, when chosen with patience, speaks louder than any trick. So, ask yourself, have you ever held too tightly to something that was meant to be shared? Have you ever seen a truth overlooked by someone who thought they knew everything? If this story moved you, share it with someone you care about. Subscribe for more stories that honor the quiet lessons of the world. And in the comments, tell us, where are you watching from and what wisdom do you carry with you today? Because wisdom is not mine. It is not yours. It belongs to all of us.